Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 904, The Entrance of the Revolutionary Army Commanders. Now, this was a really short chapter, but I've actually got quite a lot written up on it. And we got to see characters we've been waiting to see for quite a while now. I think maybe since the Boltigo incident, maybe even before then. And we've already seen at least one of them. We've definitely seen... I won't say his name right now, but we've definitely seen one of them. So the chapter starts with the cover story. Olympus is back at his home kingdom, which is called the Standing Kingdom, where he tells the king of his retirement, much to the king's anger. That was all cool and stuff, but let's get to the actual story. So the actual chapter starts by taking us back to Kamabaka Kingdom, on a little island with hearts standing erect, mind the term, of different sizes. They kind of stood tall like hills and mountains. There's one main major heart which stood like a mountain, and then the rest are like lesser mountains around it. And this place is called Momoiro Island and is now serving as the revolutionaries' new headquarters. So we observe a conversation between Ivankov and Dragon, with Eva talking about how impressive Luffy is, how he's definitely of Dragon's blood, and how surprised he is about Sanji's lineage. And he was the one, Ivankov was the one who was kind of like responsible for Sanji's training during those last 2 years during the time skip. So he would be surprised about Sanji specifically. Dragon also tells us of how the Germa have now been kicked out of the world government because of this incident, because of their whole Cake Island thing. So no invite for them to Reverie this year at least, or what remains of them. We still don't know even if any of them are still alive. So once again, Dragon and company are waiting on the arrival of the Revolutionary Army's commanders. Sabo manages to get into contact with one called Lindbergh, who says they've run into a spot of trouble and will be a little late. And Sabo's just like, yeah, as long as you're safe and as long as you get here, we're good. So at this point, the Okamas go crazy wanting to meet the commanders, and then they mention a Morley, they mention a Betty, who are both commanders as well. We've never seen them. So Dragon then suggests that they should finalize their plans before the commanders even get there, with Sabo finishing off his sentence telling us that at this year's Reverie, the Revolutionary Army will declare war on the Celestial Dragons, or the Tenryu Bito. And I was like, what? Bro, this is gonna be major hype. If they do this at Reverie, because it's not gonna be like they're just gonna send a letter in like, hey, we declare war. They're gonna have to be there in person, looking at these people in the face and saying, we declare war on you. It's gonna be hype. And this is definitely gonna result in some sort of backlash. There has to be some sort of war or miniature war, some sort of battle that has to go down, not at Reverie, but because of the repercussions of them declaring war. And the Marines will definitely pair with the Celestials, because the Celestials are kind of, they're the world nobles. They have to be protected by the Marines, and they'll be against the Revolutionary Army. But then it depends on where the Yonko and the pirates of just the world in general, where they throw their lot in, and whether they will even engage with the Revolutionary Army or with the Celestials at all. Additionally, what we can glean from all of this is that the Revolutionaries didn't really lose at Boltigo, but seem to have somehow escaped without clashing with Blackbeard, and the media reported it as the Revolutionaries being dismantled, which should actually provide the Revolutionaries now with some awesome cover as they make their way towards Reverie. So that's all going to be awesome to see. We then go to a kingdom we've actually heard mentioned, I think, last chapter, which is called the Lucia Kingdom, where some no-name pirate is wreaking havoc. I say no name, he was named, but he's a no-name pirate. He's got like a 52 million berry bounty, so it's not that much. Now the island seems to be in the ownership of a celestial dragon, but it does have its own monarch, so maybe the monarch is like, he's licking the ass of these celestial dragons or something like that. Or just the celestial dragons place this monarch in their place to look over this kingdom, because they didn't want to breathe the same air as the people there. So this no-name pirate, whose name is Peachbeard or Pinkbeard, depending on which translation you read, he's attacking in the name of his leader, who is Blackbeard. Now, he has already taken out a marine ship and is trying to steal some booty now. He's trying to steal some gold. Now, while they ransack and pillage the town, a woman in tears tells him that they have nothing in terms of monetary value to give to Pinkbeard or Peachbeard, and that they're all incredibly poor and are made even more so because of the tax that they have to pay to their monarch and the celestial dragons. Obviously, Peachbeard gives zero shits about any of this, and he backhands the woman. But it turns out we've seen this woman before. Some of you eagle-eyed, I don't know, like, you guys are crazy out there with your memories and your like just recognizing shit. Some of you eagle-eyed fans out there notice that this girl this woman is the girl from Ace's cover story kind of adventure, and her name is Moda. So Moda, she's a milk maiden, nothing really like major to the story, but I was just surprised you guys remembered her. I mean, like, I had no clue who she was. And Moda falls back but knocks into another woman, and she's kept upright by this woman, and this woman then commands someone named Morley to go. At this point, I started getting hyped because the Okamas mentioned Morley as one of the commanders, and if this person is commanding Morley, then that means they're of at least the same caliber or a little bit higher than Morley in terms of rank. So I was getting hype because we know that Morley is a commander. So I realized we were going to see at least one of the commanders, or maybe even a second one here. So we then see the ground start to rise as someone beneath it tries to get out, but the ground doesn't break apart like someone was bursting through something solid like the ground would usually be. The ground became kind of very supple and pliable, almost like very clay-like. It's even mentioned in this chapter. And then you see suddenly a trident is just driven up into the air from the ground as a fat bearded giant climbs up out of whatever hell he's been occupying for however many years. And the dude's wearing a skirt, he's got black gloves on, a black hat with goggles on it, and it's terrifying to the sight. I saw him and I was like, what the hell is this guy? He's got like some bullets strapped across his chest, and once again he's got his trident, and he just looks weird as hell. So I was like, what the hell is this guy? This is Morley? So he proceeds to ask if the pirates are staring at him because they have a crush on him, and obviously they're staring at him because they're shook at, like, what the hell is this guy? And it's worth noting that Morley actually uses the feminine form of me here. He refers to himself as me, and the me he uses is feminine in the Japanese language. So it seems like the Okamas have already worked their sorcery on Morley, which is sad times. So while Morley weirds out the pirates, and he drives his trident into the ground again, and he just brings it up like it's clay once again, the woman from earlier addresses the townspeople, calling them trash, but she also asks them what they want to do about the situation and what they can do about the situation. So right before she gets to tell the people who they are in terms of herself and Morley, we're interrupted by some Rocket Raccoon looking mofo and a fusion of Overhaul and Itachi looking dude. So the Rocket looking dude chastises Morley for fighting so soon, seeing as he wanted to test an invention first. A crewmate of Peachbeard then suddenly recognizes each of these four individuals and starts to shit himself because he's like, why are they all here together? So it turns out all of these four individuals are the commanders of the Revolutionary Army, which is something I did not expect to see this chapter. You know, we've seen Ivankov and all these guys before, but to see the four commanders of the Revolutionary Army in one chapter, and it's a really short chapter as well, so I did not expect it at all this chapter. So we get to see the giant Morley, who's the West commander, the guy with the skirt, trident, and he's got bullets strapped across his chest. The woman who was calling the townspeople trash and all that stuff, and who at this point I realized is only wearing a jacket and a tie, and she has no shirt on. So, you know, that's good times. So her name is Bello Betty, and she is the East commander, and like she's smoking in every possible connotation. So we then have she's the West commander. We have Rocket Raccoon, who is the South commander, and is also the guy who Sabo was talking to on the Denden Mushi. His actual name is Lindbergh. And then we have the Overhaul Itachi fusion, whose name is Karasu, which I swear means crow, and makes sense considering what we find out his Devil Fruit ability allows him to do. So something I'd like to mention here is that all the commanders apart from Karasu are wearing black hats with goggles on them, which is something very reminiscent of our boy Sabo. So everyone shits themselves seeing the four commanders of the Revolutionary Army, and they question why the Revolutionary Army's commanders are all together in one location, and none of the commanders actually answer the question. Obviously they don't need to, with Karasu just mumbling. Betty then riles up the townsfolk, asking them if they'll fight or die, and happy with their response to fight, the commanders look to aid the townspeople in fighting their oppressors, which are the pirates at this moment in time. So the townspeople notice that their strength is increasing, something which Morley actually tells us is actually Betty's devil fruit ability. So she can awaken the latent power in people with a wave of her flag. Now this is cool and everything, it's like the opposite of Perona, but does she always need to be in possession of a flag while she's doing this? I mean, like, in order to utilize her ability, does she need a flag? Because Morley does mention with one wave of her flag, specifically mentioning the flag. So it seems like a cool kind of ability, especially as a support. But there has to be more to her than that, because she's not just a support, she's a commander in the Revolutionary Army. So she must be a badass fighter, and her devil fruit must have more to it than what we've seen so far, which is obviously very little of it. So Lindbergh freezes the guns of the pirates with his new invention, whilst Karasu literally transforms into a murderer of crows and steals the pirates' weapons. He is the one commander we've actually seen a couple times before, once right after Dressrosa, flying Sabo back to the revolutionaries, and before that we saw Crow deliver a newspaper to Robin before the time skip, and you'd assume that was Karasu. So it could be assumed that Karasu is like integral to the intelligence sharing within the Revolutionary Army. And with that, the pirates are defeated, with Betty giving the bounty over to the townspeople, as well as the Revolutionary Army's contact details. And I really liked how here, when she gives the contact details over to the townspeople, she told the town that the Revolutionary Army would fight for weaklings who have the will to fight. So as long as the people have the desire and the will to rise up, the Revolutionary Army will join them. So the chapter ends with 2 days before Reverie and Karasu being told to turn on his speaker, which I assume is going to be a running gag. And this is why he was mumbling all chapter long. So yeah, that was really the end of the chapter. A very short chapter and a decent length review. It's going to be about 12 minutes-ish. So yeah, a really good chapter considering how short it was. But keep in mind there may not be a chapter next week, even though it wasn't mentioned at the end of this chapter. If you want to know why, go to the One Piece subreddit. And I think one of the moderators there explains it very well. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys maybe Saturday or Sunday for Boku no Hero Academia. I've got work on Saturday, so maybe Sunday for Boku no Hero Academia. So I'll see you guys then.